This is the meeting after the meeting. None of our participants get paid, and we don't speak for Alcoholics Anonymous. Enjoy the show.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm talking about.
Gabe,
Yes.
what the fuck?
Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
We needed a different vibe this week, you know? I think we needed something a little different.
You got that. You got that for sure.
Is this what you were saying was supposed to be country?
Oh.
Where's the fiddle?
I like it.
Yeah, I like it.
So, Gabe and Chris aren't really fans of country, I guess, but I am
You don't
somewhat.
have to put us on blast.
Well, I
but,
just,
man,
No, I'm proud. I'm proud that I don't like it.
it's not my favorite. I mean, it's actually, I hate it.
we have all different kinds of people who listen to our show and who want to want to feel like they're included. So,
Dude, I mean, Gabe picked it.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
good.
we're going with
it. It's smooth. It wasn't like last week. Last week I felt like we were walked into the octagon.
it was a little different. A little
It was
bit of
getting me
different
hyped
feel.
up.
This is
This is
more
like,
chill.
This is like Piggly Wiggly rest stop.
I think it goes well with our guest tonight. I don't know why. I just get that vibe off him. So,
I feel like you grew up in London.
We'll introduce him in a second. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll introduce him in a second. Let's first get into it. This is the meeting after the meeting. I am John.
I'm Chris.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode. I believe this is episode number 5. We are excited to be back. We've got another great show for you tonight.
I'm excited. It's gonna be good.
It's going to be good. We got a great
really
guest. We got some great topics. We got a great sketch where we're going to bring on a couple more guests from another podcast.
It's gonna be fire.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to get a little out of control tonight later in the show.
I wish we may go over.
We might go over. So this might be a little bit more than an hour show, which I think is okay.
That's fine.
If it's good content, people want to hear it,
No one's timing us.
So a couple of things just to say real quick. The Meeting After the Meeting is a weekly podcast. It's recorded on Zoom. We put the audio out on different podcast streaming services like Spotify, Apple Music, Google, etc. We also record the video, and that is uploaded to our password-protected site for subscribers, and you can find all of that information at our link tree, which is
TMATM Live.
there you go. So you can catch all of our episodes there. We've just put up our first video of last week's episode. Prior to that, I think the videos were weren't up to your quality.
Yeah, I mean, we were working out the bugs, so it's good. We're good now. We're locked in.
We're good. Let's introduce our producer. We have Gabe over there on the board. Gabe, what's up?
What up, everyone?
We found out after last week's episode that your mic did not change.
No, and I'm gonna just
Sounds better.
secretly try to fix it.
It sounds better.
It sounded like this last time. You know what? I'm going to make a statement. I just think it's your voice.
I mean, that's just not true.
I think you just sound
Anyone with ears
you
would
just
tell you
sound
that.
scratchy.
Well, it does sound a little raspy, but that's nice.
You sound scratchy.
It doesn't sound good on the recording, though.
It's fine.
It's not a big
good,
deal.
man.
How are you doing tonight, Gabe?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, how are you feeling about the show? You seemed a little stressed earlier. A lot of moving parts tonight.
It's just every week there's like 3-4 new steps.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
We had to pray them
but
up
I'm good,
tonight, man.
We pray before every episode. It's nice.
before every
We gotta get that in.
But I feel like I'm getting better. Definitely getting into a flow for sure.
I think you are. Your camera work's gotten a lot better from
You got
the
to
first
believe
week.
it, man. You got to believe it, man. Just believe
I
it.
believe it. I
Believe it. Do you?
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
He doesn't sound confident.
No, yeah, I believe it.
Gabe's an interesting guy.
He's an interesting guy. We're lucky to have him.
We are.
I'll tell you that right now.
We are.
Lucky to be here.
Thank you, Gabe.
Nobody would sign up for this, really.
They would not. No.
If they knew.
It's worth every penny. It's worth every penny.
Of that burrito.
Yeah. Every grain of rice.
Let's get into introducing our guest here. We've got a great guest for you. He is somebody we'll talk a little bit about. I'm pretty sure he came straight here from out of town traveling for work and has a busy life and agreed to come here. Awesome member of AA, good friend of ours for a long time. Let's introduce Chris P. from Oakton, Virginia.
What's happening?
They love you.
I'm authorized to speak now.
Sorry, we didn't tell Chris that we kind of like do an intro prior to.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
he came
started
right
talking
in.
about a lot of things I have opinions on, but I couldn't speak.
We'll have plenty of time for that.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good, chilling. Tired.
Yeah. So you came in from out of town.
Yeah.
Straight here.
I had meetings in Columbus, Ohio this morning.
Oh wow.
And Southern Ohio yesterday.
That's commitment. I like that.
Right up by the Ohio State.
That's right. That's right. Kind of sick of hearing about those guys.
I'm sure. What's that quarterback's name? God, the guy, I forget. I'm blanking on his name.
Oh, I don't even know.
Somebody here should know. Nobody knows the guy's name.
I can't
He's going to be
remember.
the #1 draft pick probably too. So
Oh, is he? No. I can't keep track. They have #1
I
draft
shouldn't have
pick
said
every other
anything.
year. So
Yeah, I shouldn't have said anything. Well, welcome. We're really glad to have you here.
yeah.
I think it's going to be a fun show. Chris, you mentioned that he grew up in London. Did you grow up in London?
Lived in London.
Lived in London, right? But you're born in this area?
First drink in London.
First drunk. in London. Yeah.
Drunk?
Yeah, no, I grew up in Texas.
Grew up in Texas.
In
That
Nebraska.
told you.
Yeah,
I
Texas and
told you
Nebraska.
country music was a good fit. He's not wearing his cowboy boots now.
He's
but
going
that's
to
'cause he's working.
discotheques in London. I mean,
That's also true.
you can't. It's one or the other, dude. You can't. You know what I mean?
Hey, I'm eclectic.
He's eclectic. He's a bit of a gypsy.
No, when people say, "Where are you from?" I said, "Not really anywhere."
We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out a little bit about
He's
that.
he's a man of many styles.
But I did have a British accent at one point.
Did you
Deep. Nobody, when I moved back to the States, nobody believed that I was American.
really?
Yeah.
How long did it take to
6
wipe that
months.
thing out?
Like 6 months.
6 months of just drinking and
I was like, "No, mate, I'm from fucking Texas." They're like, "All right, cowboy."
yeah, sure thing, buddy.
Yeah. All right.
Well, let's do this. Because I want to have plenty of time to talk about your story here because it's a good one. Let's start off by getting into what we call the stats, just some of the basic information about your sobriety, if you wouldn't mind telling us.
Sobriety date's April 7th, 2004. Got sober in this area, the DC metro area. Came around for 5 years before I got sober this time. Came to my first AA meeting summer after high school. Wheels came off really quick, once I was let off the leash. So didn't last long out there. But pretty much been drinking alcoholically since I was like 15.
What about home group and sponsor?
Home groups, Thursday nights, Haven at last, 7:30. Yeah,
Another.
it's another one.
We've
yeah.
had a lot of
Love that.
Haven at last members on the
Haven.
podcast.
There's a lot of willing people there.
Yeah. Last week, the person said the same thing. Hey, it's a great group, so we're glad you're here, and you have a sponsor.
Yep.
Yep.
Same one since 06. After the one before that fired me.
Ah,
Yeah. Or as he says, I fired myself, which is also true. It's semantics.
yeah. Well, maybe we can find some time to hear a little bit about that story. So let's get into a little bit about your story. We're going to do the 3 W's here. Talk a little bit about what you were like, what happened, and what you're like now. If you wouldn't mind highlighting a little bit of that, let's just start with what you were like.
Selfish, self-centered from the very beginning. Same thing you hear in like all the meetings. Like felt different, disconnected, socially separated from those about me. Got diagnosed with all kinds of stuff. Because untreated alcoholism looks like a lot of different mental illness. So what did I get? I had depression, anxiety, ADD, which is sweet because then I got amphetamines.
And this was prior to ever taking a drink.
Yeah, this is prior to ever taking a drink. Yeah, and then at one point I actually got diagnosed as a clinical psychopath, which is like pretty sweet. I feel like in AA, that's like solid street cred,
That's a good one.
And essentially that just means you don't care about anything or anyone except for yourself, which is pretty much every alcoholic I know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Everyone.
And, I was getting kicked out of schools and put in mental institutions like long before I took a drink. So not right.
Wasn't looking good.
No, I peaked at like 12, and then it was like a downhill progression. That was a couple of years before I started drinking. I mean, a lot of people thought I was on drugs and drinking years before I was, right? I mean, which my behavior would suggest that, you know, lying, cheating, stealing, you know, anything I could do to get what I wanted, regardless of what it was. But at the same time, you know, just always feeling like I needed to be whatever I thought people wanted me to be so that I could get their approval, right?
Massive self-centeredness,
Yeah.
selfishness.
Yeah, like and like a lot of people say, a chameleon, right? I had a different image like every other year, and luckily my dad's job had us moving around all the time. So everywhere I went,
Worked out.
I was a gangster one year, then like next year I'm like metalhead, then like the next year I'm like a skater. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it was nice when I actually started drinking because then I could just be like a solid like I was just drunk. I was just fuck up.
Just a
you know
loser.
What I mean? Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah. Just that guy in high school. So
And this was all done. You said this was in Texas, or you'd moved around?
No. Well, I was getting in trouble before drinking in Texas, and then when I was living in Holland, we moved from Houston to Amsterdam. And oddly enough, I wasn't getting messed up in Amsterdam. It wasn't until we moved to London, and then I figured out what I'd been missing. So I made sure to go back and visit my friends a lot, you know. But
Yeah.
but no, I was drinking. I was like 15 years old, drinking at pubs in London. You know, it was great. It was awesome.
You know what I found? A lot of people share the same thing, like when they were kids, they were fucking up. That's my story. And you know, what's interesting is when I started drinking, some of that stuff went away. Mm-hmm. I just like settled down a little bit.
Yeah.
Like all that angst, all that restlessness, all that irritability, just, I mean, no wonder, right? I mean, we're alcoholic. I mean, it's obvious, but it's like, man, it's like I was just waiting for a drink.
Well, the second I got that drink, I remember the first time I got drunk. I remember that night like it was yesterday. I mean, I got that great that I got every single time I took a drink, just that great sigh of relief, you know. I mean, that was why I drank, for that relief. You know, I think one of our friends, Jack E, talks about how, not Jackie, Jack E, talks about how he was, when he was drinking, he was like sitting in front of some therapist, you know, and they're like, well, don't you see, Jack, that when you drink, you're just getting artificial relief? And he was like, that's the moment I knew they had no idea what the hell they were talking about, because I get actual, real relief from my problems, right? I mean, I drink and like, it doesn't matter what's going on. And, you know, fast forward, you know, I mean, it progressed or very quickly. I mean, I immediately changed everything about my life to be centered around that, you know, and somehow graduated high school, you know, but then very quickly was like in the rooms of AA because I got a job waiting tables after high school, and you know, I was physically addicted to alcohol within a month or two after graduating because I was drinking so much. I didn't know that's what was happening. I had to come to AA to figure out that I was actually having DTs in the middle of the night, and I wasn't like an insomniac, right? But as that was happening, I was like, well, if I just keep whiskey next to my bed when I wake up and I'm shaking, I just drink that and I go right back to bed.
That helps.
Somehow, right?
Solid move.
Right, like I probably have a disorder, but
Pro tip.
That's right. Just keep a tumbler of whiskey.
Somehow I didn't really connect those dots either with the physical feelings of the withdrawal and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
I would always think something else was wrong. Man, there's something wrong. But
Well, we can't tell the true from the false, right?
Yeah.
You know? So, and then, in and out of AA for 5 years. We got went to rehab at one point because I was like, go to rehab or go to jail. It's kind of a no-brainer, right? You know? And, but, you know, like a lot of people went to rehab thinking like, okay, well, I'm going to go to this place, right? Like the great delusion of every alcoholic is that we'll one day be able to drink like a normal drinker, or that a period of sobriety has enabled us to drink like a normal drinker. And so I thought, like, I'm going to go to rehab for 30 days and, like, freshen up, right?
little oil change.
Yeah, maybe get, like, some citrus sprayed on me or something, you know, freshen up a little bit, you know, whatever that means.
Get a shower.
Yeah, you know, just detox, you know. And so I remember telling my friends, like, oh, I'll see you in a month, right? Because I thought, like, oh, I'm going to be able to come back. Someone's trying to get your attention. But, Am I not close enough? Okay. Rarely am I ever told I'm not talking loud enough. Is that better? Yeah, cool. Okay. But yeah, telling people I was gonna be back in a month, you know, thinking I'm gonna go learn. They're gonna go learn me good, and I'm gonna come back and I'm just gonna be able to keep drinking like an alcoholic, but not having consequences. 'Cause that's what I wanted, right? I wanted to be able to drink like the people that I drank with, who could get drunk at night and then not skip work the next day.
Control and enjoy.
Right. where they could drink and not lose their driver's license. They could drink and not get arrested. I could not seem to do both those things, right? I was drinking and then losing jobs, getting arrested, losing my license, getting kicked out of places to live. And on the surface, it seemed like our drinking was the same.
Yeah.
You know? And then, so I went to this rehab. That delusion was smashed because I wasn't really given an opportunity. They said, you should go to a halfway house in Florida. My parents were like, sweet, we'll buy him a one-way ticket. So and
They were happy to have you go.
One way, right? No return trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went down there and I floundered around Alcoholics Anonymous in and out, you know, relapsing every couple months. At one point, stayed sober almost 2 years. But always believed that the consequences, the circumstances of my life were a result of my drinking, right? So that if I stopped drinking, the problems will go away. And I proved to myself time after time after time that, you know, I stopped drinking and I don't really change that much. I still treat people like shit, right? I'm still a thief. I'm still a liar. I'm still a cheater. Like I treat women like crap. You know, I treat my friends like crap. I treat my family like crap. And, but like something, like I could show up to work on time.
But isn't that strange though? It's like you owe some, look, I'm not going to say someone's an alcoholic or not when they come to AA, but what I relate to is drinking didn't make me a bad guy. I was a bad guy already. Drinking just allowed me to be a bad guy and not feel fucked up about it.
Yeah, be a bad guy and have fun.
Well, not like I was always having fun, but there was some deep down in there was a moral compass, and I had to erase that. You know what I mean? To live the way I was living. I had to. I couldn't do what I was doing. And drinking just allowed me to do it.
Well, I didn't know that I wasn't a good person. When I got sober this time, I believed that I was a good person because I judge myself on my intentions, whereas the world judges me on my actions. You know, so when I got sober, I truly believe that if you were friends with me, you had a good friend. You know what I mean? You were wealthy. You were wealthy in friendship.
Step up in life.
Yeah, but one of the I had a Tom I tape when I was new that I used to play all the time. I've tried to find this same talk again. I can't find it, but he talks about how, because he got sober at 23, I got sober at 23, and he said that in the first 23 years of his life, he had never met anyone who wouldn't have been better off had they never met him. And that was my experience, right? As soon as I heard him say that, I realized that not a single time in my entire life had I ever touched favorably on anyone else's life. Nobody could have ever said that their life was better because they had known me. Every single person,
at best, the same. At best,
if they only knew me a little.
I was gonna say it depends on how long they spent, how much time they spent.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, if it was even a little bit, like their life was a little worse. You know.
Like they walked away, they were like, God, that guy is
what a
really
drag,
messed up. And they were just like bummed out that someone could sink so low emotionally.
Yeah,
man. So, yeah, not scorecards reading in the negative, you know. So
this was this was all in Florida. You said you hung around AA for a couple of years, then kind of. And I know the story, and I wish we had time to kind of dive into it, but just kind of talk about right at the end. What was it that kind of got you to that place where, well, you know what? Actually, talk about before that. How did it kind of end in Florida, and what was that like for you at the end?
Well, I mean, I was homeless, unemployed, unemployable. I remember. Man, when I was like legit homeless. Like when you hear people in AA say, "Well, I always thought an alcoholic was like the homeless guy, like on the street drinking." I never had that excuse because I was like, "Well, that literally was me, right?" And
but it's hard to tell in Florida.
Right,
everyone's wearing shorts and flip flops.
You know, I mean, you wouldn't have known right off the bat because I had some rainbows on. You know what I mean? Some like Prada sunglasses. You know.
Looking good.
Yeah, I looked not homeless. I was like skinny and tan, like not eating and just living on the beach. You know.
Literally living on the beach.
Literally,
right?
no.
Yeah.
I came back from a relapse at one point. I'd lost like 20 pounds because I've been smoking crack. Yes. But I was homeless, so I was getting sun all the time. And this guy was like, "Really? You relapsed? Because you look great." I was like, "Oh, I feel like awful," you know. But
Not John's story.
Not-
He did not look good.
No, did not.
Well, no, this time when I came in, I did not look good. I like at one point had like found pictures. We were trying to find my mug shots.
Yeah.
Remember Odat?
I remember Odette.
Yeah, somebody like I'd sent somebody some pictures of my mug shots, and somehow they went around. They got passed around Odat. And I remember one of our friends, Shannon, said she started crying.
Yeah,
She saw the picture because it was so sad. But you know, honestly, it was like I couldn't stop getting arrested. You know, I feel like I went through like 22 years of like breaking the law and never getting in trouble. And then once you're in the system, man,
It got you.
It's impossible to get out, dude. I was just it's like a revolving door, you know? I mean, one of the last times I got arrested, because I got arrested 3 times in 4 days by the same cop in the same place for the same 3 charges. That's what the party was, so I just kept going back, right? And
Feeling like a winner.
yeah, you know what I mean? The last time he was like, the cop was like, Chris, get over here. All right,
When they know you by first name, it's
dude.
bad.
Well, the second
It's
time I
bad.
tried to run, and I thought I had a good start, but I only made it 2 steps before I was like smashed up against a wall, you know?
It's hard to run in flip-flops.
Dude, real hard, you know? It's better to do barefoot, actually. But, no, and then one of the last times I was getting processed in, it was the same deputy who had processed me out like 11 hours before that. And he was like, dude, you know, come on. But, yeah, and I basically, the last time I got arrested, I begged this cop not to take me back to county. And I don't know why, but he didn't. He like brought me food from the station, their like local station. He like brought me their leftover pizza. So he was like, when's the last time you eaten? I was like, I don't know, dude, days. So he brought me some of their food, and he was like, you want something to drink? I was like, please, you know, because I was probably looked like Dave Chappelle's crackhead, you know what I mean? Like the chapped lips.
Yeah,
and shit. And but then
Sun-baked.
yeah, dude, it was so bad, so bad. And yeah, and then I begged him not to take me back to county. He made me promise that I would show up for my court dates. And I was
promise.
like, oh, of course. Because I was like, I'm gonna go to rehab. And he was like, but you're gonna show up for court, right? I was like, oh, of course.
Did you show up for court?
No, my first court date was my sobriety date.
Yeah.
I was not there. I was here.
Speaking of which, so let's get into kind of what happened. What was that jumping off point for you, or that moment of clarity where you realized you couldn't go on living the way you were living?
So it was actually Burger King. Burger King. So I was homeless, unemployed. I'd been like living on people's couches here and there, having like crappy jobs after crappy jobs. And but at this point, like I've lost my social security card, I've lost my birth certificate, my passport was gone. I hadn't had a license since '99. But like my actual like ID, my state issued ID was gone. I had no means of like getting a new ID. I was actually drinking with a fake. I was 23 and I was drinking with a fake ID that said I was 21. You know, with somebody else's picture on it, right? And I could legally drink.
It's like a reverse fake ID.
Yeah, it is.
Hey, he probably could still vote in Florida.
But I was like, because I always had a plan, right? Like Bill talks about as he would drink, the fierce determination to win would come back. I don't know about a fierce determination to win, but I know about like having a mild motivation to not be such a loser, you know? And as I would drink, I would convince myself that everything was going to be okay, right? Like no matter how bad it was, if I could knock a few drinks back, I'd be like, okay, tomorrow is going to be better. Tomorrow, you know what I mean? I'm going to go pay that power bill, then like, whatever, get a job. So my plan at this, I was living on this guy's couch. There was a Burger King around the corner. I was like, I just need to get that job at the Burger King. And then I was like, they don't give jobs to people who don't have ID, right? They just don't, like, at least not the jobs you want, right? I was like, and that was the moment, right? Because I was like, it's never going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. Like I might have like little glimpses here and there where it gets better for a moment, but then it always gets worse again. And that was the moment I was like, I'm gonna die, right? Because I mean, you guys know the story of my friend Doug, who I found overdosing in our bathroom, you know, and he had died. We were the same, and I knew, like, I was 23. I'm not gonna see 24, you know, and it wasn't a sense of impending doom; it was actual impending doom. So, like every big tough guy, when the shit hits the fan, I called mom, you know, and but my parents had told me, like 6 months before that, like, don't call here, right? Don't unless you want to be sober, like we don't even need to talk to you, right? Because all I was trying to do was manipulate them, and I called them and asked if I could come home, right? Because I had no other options, and she was going to try and get me a flight. I was like, don't have ID. Like after 9/11, like they're not. I'm not
on
getting
the train.
Yeah, dude, you
The
can't.
Greyhound bus.
Dude, neither you can't pick up any of that stuff without an ID.
True.
They don't just hand out tickets.
Hitchhike?
Nah, yeah, dude. I knew a guy he's like, I'm going home to Long Island. I was like, oh, bro, just drop me off in Virginia, And so yeah, hopped in his Jeep and showed up at my parents' doorstep at 5:30 in the morning on April 7th, 2004. And at 7:15 that morning, I was at the Unity Club on West Broad Street, Falls Church. Because my experience has been that the only place that I've ever been able to stay sober for any considerable period of time is when my butt is sitting in the seats of the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to be around you people. God, you people are the worst. Just like, oh, just the worst. And trying to get me to do all this stuff that like I don't want to do, which is like really anything, right? Because I don't want to do anything that's good for me.
And you'd been to AA before.
Yeah, I had
So you
sponsors.
kind of had an idea. Knew you probably thought you knew.
I did. I remember
lot.
we had a friend who was he was like 9 months sober when I got sober. I remember him coming up to me outside Midtown back when we were at 22nd and P. He was just doing the thing, like talking to the new guy, and he's like, "Hey man, like how you doing?" He introduced himself, and I was talking, and he was like, "So you knew?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I've been sober before. Like I know, like I know what's. I don't know what exactly. I basically said I know what's going on around here." He was like, "Oh, you're sober before, and you drank again? How the fuck did that work out for you?" And he just walked off, and I was like, "Guy's a dick," But then I was like, "Yeah, maybe I don't know."
He's got a point. He's got a point.
That's a valid point.
It's hard to argue with facts.
Can't buy facts. One of the guys I sponsor says that. But
So what was so you'd been to AA before? What kind of getting into what you're like now? What was different this time? What did you maybe take some different actions? Did you
not at first? Not at first. I mean, you gotta stick to what you know. Which is being a scumbag. And no, I don't know. I do remember thinking that the people that I was talking to, the people that I was listening, the people that I related to, I believed that they were like I was. I believed that they were the same as me. And I believed that something had happened for them that had never happened for me. And that was because I'd never really done it. In my core, I knew that I'd never really given AA a fair shot, because I can remember doing a fifth step with a sponsor and him leaving me alone in his house for an hour while he walked his dog for me to think of if I, skimmed putting, sand in the mortar. And I remember thinking that I sat there for an hour thinking about the stuff I wasn't going to tell him. And I didn't tell him. Right. And I swear to God, like, I don't know why, I don't know how, this can't be actually possible. But I remember when I first heard people in my home group when I got sober this time talking about helping others, I remember feeling mind blown, right? Like, really? Is that what we do here? And I'd been coming into AA for 5 years. I know people were helping people. I wasn't, right? I was just doing me. But
So at first, nothing really changed. Same old kind of guy. I don't know if it was pain or what ended up eventually causing you to take some different actions, but eventually you did.
Yeah.
You got a sponsor. You worked the steps. What did that look like for you?
I mean, I was resistant. I did my fourth and fifth step. I finished my fourth step and did my fifth step with my first sponsor when I was like 6-7 months sober. I mean, he had told me to start writing it 4 or 5 months before that, but I just didn't do it. Not because I was afraid to tell anybody anything this time. I'm just lazy, right? Like that doesn't make me feel good right now, so I'm not going to put any effort into that. But I did that, and honestly, I didn't have any like spiritual, experience out of that. I just thought like, oh, thank God, these people are gonna be off my back now, and I remember thinking, okay, cool. I mean, I as cliche as it sounds, I pretty much, without thinking the actual words, thought, okay, now I can rest on my laurels, right? And I knew that the next logical, like, yeah, you got 6 and 7, right? But that's just like fluff, right? You know, that's just fluff to get you to 8 and 9, you know? And so I thought, like, oh, well.
You're working on your defects.
That's right. And I'm not actually interested in losing those. So it's going to be a little while, right? And, but I remember hearing a speaker, she got up to the podium in my home group and she shared about how she almost drank because she didn't write an 8-step until she had 5 years sober. And now this was a tale of caution. But to people like me in the meeting, what I heard was,
I got 5 years.
I got 5 years. You know what I mean? I got time 5 years before I got to write an 8-step. I'm good. I got mad time. And I didn't make it that long, right? I mean, I had basically recreated my drunk life sober. And I mean, to the point where like 4 years sober, I'm sitting at the kitchen table at my parents' house and they're like asking me why I'm stealing from them again, right? I'm supposed to be sober. And I didn't know that I was stealing from them. I thought I was borrowing from them. I just hadn't asked them, right?
Right.
You know, which is a crucial part of borrowing. And
You're going to get around to it.
yeah, eventually, you know, but that and like roommates, I mean, friends, you know, I'd already lost my first sponsor and romantic I mean, everything, like my entire life was on fire at like 4 years sober. And finally I was like driving around one day and it dawned on me that if I didn't begin clearing up the wreckage of the past, I was going to drink. And I called my sponsor to tell him, like, hey man, like if I don't do this, I'm going to drink. He's like, yeah, I know, idiot. I've been telling you this for 3 years, you know? And that, I mean, honestly, yeah, there's been ups and downs, but like pretty much from that moment on, the trajectory of my life has changed, right? Like I sponsored a ton of people.
And it was noticeable. I mean,
I think so.
As soon as you started on that path, especially when you went down to Florida, and
we were living together.
We were living together, and you sorted out those warrants.
yeah, a few of those for a while.
A couple of those down there still.
Yeah.
You know, but that was it, man. That like catapulted you into, you know, really investing in 8 and 9, which is where it happens for a lot of us.
Well, I kind of see, I mean, right, the book says that the man's whole deportment shouted that he had an answer, right? So in the first 4 years that I was sober, I sponsored a bunch of guys because I was like I was taking the actions, like a lot of the actions, not all of them. Like I was 12 stepping, you know, I was going to meetings, doing a lot of service, going to H&Is and all this stuff. I was sponsoring these guys, but none of them really ever stayed sober. They all drank again. And that's not because I got them drunk. I'm not that powerful, right? The reason why they were drinking is because if someone comes to Alcoholics Anonymous and they truly want to stay sober, they will find someone whose whole deportment shouts that they have an answer. I was not attracting people who really wanted to be sober. You know what I mean? I was just attracting people who like wanted to get trouble off their back.
Yeah.
And
sponsor and name only.
Right. You know,
check a box.
Yeah. I mean, they would call and we'd hang out and stuff, but eventually they'd leave. Right. And then after I started going through the 9th step amends and changing, you know, the nature of my relationships with everyone, you know, I started sponsoring these guys who were like sticking around, which is weird, right? You know, and because something had happened. Mm-hmm. I couldn't see it. I mean, even today, I still feel like the same piece of shit that came into Alcoholics Anonymous almost 19 years ago. Yeah. You know, I mean, I still have the same thoughts in my head. I still want to do the same stuff, you know. I just don't because I don't want anything that goes along with that, right?
Yeah.
And but I've been, you know, since that time, like, I've had the privilege of getting to take a bunch of guys through the steps, and you know,
and we know a lot of them. They're good AA members.
Yeah, not the one here, but you know, the other ones.
And you're, we don't really talk about this. We do have a little seating area for in-person guests. We've got some guests tonight.
It's getting
want to welcome
packed
them.
in here.
So let's move on. We're coming up here on time. I do want to the topic tonight. We're going to move on to our weekly topic. This week's topic kind of, I think, coincides with what your life is like today and how you know what some of the things that can happen in life and change. And the topic is becoming a new parent in sobriety. Has your program changed? And I think for many of us and people we know, a lot of us got sober young. A lot of us got sober. We didn't have children. We thank God, you know, and now today a lot of people do, including Chris and now you, Chris. And so
That's why we're both drinking coffee.
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
That's right.
So what kind of talk a little bit about, if you can, for maybe 5 minutes on what that's been like for you. Has your program changed? And if so, what's important? What do you think you still need to be doing action wise if you want to stay here?
I mean, what I need to do hasn't changed at all. I mean, it's the exact same, right? What I can do has changed. I can't make it to as many meetings, I mean, before 2020, I was going to like 5-6 meetings a week, since, the beginning of 21, I've been doing probably 3 or 4 meetings a week, and now it's like 1 or 2. Because my wife's also an alcoholic, so she needs to go to meetings, and I travel, which makes things even more difficult, because I'm out of town, I'm missing meetings. Now, when I come back into town, I can't be like, all right, honey, it's my turn to go. I know you've been at home the whole time.
You could try.
Well, yeah, they ain't gonna. I wouldn't be married for long. Either that, or I wouldn't be sober for long. But so
There's give and take.
yeah.
What's it like having a child? You've got this new responsibility. You talked a little bit about, making changes in your life. Has AA kind of prepared you a little bit more for that? Has life prepared you to be a father? Where have you you leaned on people in AA? I hear a lot of people talk about, hey, I've got these people I could talk to who have experience.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much I've needed. I've mostly just used people as something to vent to. Just or I don't know. I don't really get that worried.
Which
about
is important.
It is. It is.
Because you don't want to take that home.
No.
I mean, that's a really valuable resource that we have in Alcoholics Anonymous that normal people don't really have.
Well, and people in AA talk about stuff that normal people don't talk about. No, seriously. When we say things that out there, you're not supposed to tell anyone that I understand why someone would want to shake a baby. You don't know. It's funny.
Yeah,
It's funny
no.
to say that, but within a week, I was like, oh my god, I know why this happens.
Yeah.
You've been on 3 hours of sleep for a week,
Yeah.
right? And you have this thing that really doesn't have a personality yet. It's just an eating, sleeping, crying, shitting machine,
Right.
And it's just screaming at you, and you can't do anything about it because you don't know what the hell you're doing. And the only thing that going, you just start clenching up. You know what I mean? I had to put him down and walk away just to be like. Right? Because Alcoholics Anonymous has told me how to deal with anger and frustration, and I had a sponsor that I could talk to about that stuff. I didn't shake him, which I don't get a pat on the back for that, right? I remember I had a buddy that got 10 years sober, and I called him up on his 10-year anniversary, and I was talking to him. He's like, I always quote when somebody has an anniversary, I always quote you what you told me when I had 1 year sober. And I was like, well, what was that? He's like, well, you called me up. He said, congrats. But no one's going to buy you a cup of coffee for not making the world a worse place anymore. I was like, I like that. I'm going to have to start quoting you, quoting me. Well, it's like my friend says that I always say. But
we are special people. We love to think we should be getting a pat on the back for just doing normal human being type things in this world.
Lots of people don't shake babies.
No, lots of
all
people
the
don't. But I remember I used to, because I'm self-centered, and so I don't. Honestly, I've had to tell people at meetings a lot. They're like, "Hey, how's the baby?" I'm like, "Listen, man, I really don't want to do baby talk right now. Let's just talk about something else." You know what I mean? And but I remember when people would come up when my wife was pregnant, and it'd be like, "Well, congrats!" Like, why? You don't know. I could be a deadbeat dad. Who knows? We'll see how this goes. But you don't know. We don't know yet.
It's a little early for congrats. A little early.
But people don't know how to respond to that, right? In AA, they can make a joke out of it because it's funny. But if you say it to a normal person, they're like,
I would say I could be in Mexico tomorrow night,
right?
doing cocaine
In
off a
Tijuana.
But you know what I mean?
But I could. But that's the joke. The humor in that is that there's reality in that, right? Because if I'm not sober, I'm not there.
Yeah, and it's not going to fix you.
No,
None of it.
No. And this is just. Alcoholics Anonymous over the last 18 years has alleviated, just enough of my selfishness and my self-centeredness that I can try, not succeed all the time, but try to put somebody else's needs ahead of mine, right? And
which is not natural for us.
no,
I don't care how long you've been sober. My first instinct is always
me.
How's this going to affect me?
Right.
Baby's crying. How little sleep I'm going to get tonight.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And well, it's good to know that you can still be a member of AA. If you have a baby, you can still go to meetings. You can still find time for a program. I think that's important because a lot of people worry about that. What's it going to be like? And just so you know, if you're new or if you're going through this or this is something that's coming up in your life, there's plenty of people in the AA program who are parents who have been able to stay in the middle of Alcoholics Anonymous. It might look a little different, but
Well,
able to stay in the middle.
the amount of AA that I do in a meeting is a small percentage of what I'm doing throughout the day. I mean, it's been harder to call people back, but I mean, I spend more time on the phone throughout the day talking to people about Alcoholics Anonymous than I'm physically seated in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, so
Just back to this being a way of life, you know.
Way of life.
So let's move on here to the next part of our show. We love this, and I think this is a good one for Mr. Chris P here. Let's do the newcomer tip of the week.
Ooh.
Look at that guy.
oh, his hair doesn't really look.
We signed an exclusive contract
He looks
with
fake.
Vaughn.
He looks kind of
Yeah, his hair
like
isn't
an
really that
anime
good.
character.
Yeah.
That's some glory. Those
Yeah,
are
what
some
is that?
glorious
How did
locks.
you get
He
that?
gave us a break on the license deal to use this likeness.
He does look like a newcomer, though. He's got the neck tat.
He's got the neck tat.
the neck tat. So this is a good one.
I think those are gauges. Are those gauges?
They look like
He's definitely got him.
Definitely gauges, yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Let's so we're going to keep this one short, and I'm excited because we want to get into our sketch. But the newcomer tip of the week: finding the one in early sobriety won't cure your alcoholism.
Oh, but it feels so good. It feels so good.
I don't know that Chris really fell for this though.
Yeah, are you kidding me?
You don't remember my?
Well, let's first. I mean, Florida. The Florida. I'm
Well,
thinking
yeah,
more of
that-
the Florida story.
Oh yeah. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking about the. Dude, you don't remember how hard I was in that one when I was like 6 months.
Oh, was that the
to
one
a
where you
year?
moved? You were going to move
No,
out?
no, here this time.
Now I remember.
I like brought her to the gala.
Yeah.
She was the reason why I started helping people. We broke up, and I remember calling this guy and like, dude, I don't know what to do. Like, please, give me something to do, right? And he was like, all right, you need to go to like Alexandria and pick this dude up in a trailer park for a meeting, you know. So that was
You're willing. So sometimes finding the one can give you the willingness maybe to change.
as long as you lose it, yeah.
Yeah, as long as you. But the tip here is that alone, that whatever relationship, isn't going to cure alcoholism for us. For people like us, I know in my experience, it was somewhat of a diversion away from actually changing because, like you said, it felt so good. Why? If I'm doing this and I feel this good, why do I have to do anything else?
I love when new guys come up to me and and I don't look. People come to me, they're like, "Should I date?" Yada yada. I say, you know what, man, you can do whatever you want because it ain't gonna work out anyway.
Right.
Whatever you do, whoever you date, it's just gonna be a disaster.
Yeah.
Until you work the steps and especially 8 and 9, where you are learning how to operate in those kinds of relationships, it's not going to work. There are exceptions to the rule. We know some people who have been together a long time when they're new and they're still together now. But man, that's like winning the lottery.
Are they? Is there any? I can't think of one.
I feel like there are.
There used to be, but they didn't work out.
I mean, I'm sure they exist somewhere. There are people. Point kind of is for us is just, hey, look, the 12 steps
You
of
might be right,
Alcoholics
though.
Anonymous are the solution.
That's right.
That's the program. Finding the right relationship is not the solution.
Oh, and it doesn't even have to be.
What's Johnny say?
Ooh, Johnny says a lot.
He says
I don't
a lot of
know.
things
I
I
don't
can't
know what.
remember.
I don't want to. Yeah. I don't
one
want
is
to.
I feel like we shouldn't really
No,
go there.
let's not get, because I have a feeling I know where you're going.
I mean, because I've found her at least 5 or 6 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The one.
The one. No, so many of them. So many of
So
them.
many-
I
so
never,
many ones.
I didn't say she's the one. Well, I might have that one this time when I was new.
She's the one I'm telling you, Spons.
Yeah.
I've heard it. I've heard guys say, it's different this time.
And they
It's
believe
going to
it.
be different.
They believe it. I believe they believe it.
Oh, they do. 100%.
You want to believe it.
I believed it.
Because the alternative is taking an inventory and doing the steps. I mean, who wants to really, honestly?
Right.
Like I said last week, who's that enterprising? They are launching into the steps like fast forward.
I didn't like those people.
I didn't want to do any of it.
like
You know what I mean?
Those people. Even now, I don't like those people. Even
still
now, I'm like, I don't trust you. Right? Something's not right.
You're too,
Outta
yeah.
here.
You got a body in your basement
You're
or something.
way
What's
too
going on?
eager.
Or you're drinking.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so it sounds like the tip of the week is that you still need to work, even if you do find the one. Look, if you're new, if you're new and
Don't
if you,
worry, it won't work out anyway.
If you found the one, look, we're not going to knock it. Maybe you actually are that person who found the one.
I'll tell you right now,
Still work the
it
steps.
won't work out.
Still work the steps.
Give it a go.
Yeah,
Give it
I
your
don't tell
best
anybody
shot.
not to.
Yeah.
No, I don't tell them not to.
Deprive them
I mean,
of that
I remember
experience.
My sponsor didn't tell me not to date.
My sponsor was like, you might want to stay away from women for like the first 60 days. And I was like, yeah, 60 days.
Yes. No. Let's move on to what is going to be, I know, my favorite part of the show.
All right.
Our sketch this week is
Right.
we're going to have a couple guests come on. Gabe's going to pull them up here. Why don't we get into the sketch of the week? So our sketch of the week is called Meeting Shrapnel. And Meeting Shrapnel is a segment on another podcast called Alcoholics Alive. And Alcoholics Alive, you can find it on all streaming platforms similar to ours, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. And it's a weekly podcast where they bring on guests and they talk about different topics. And they have a
Similar to ours.
but
way
they have,
more professional.
I would say, yeah, they're probably.
I mean, we're like clowns.
We're kind of clowny, but they're great members of the program, and they have a part of their show at the end called Meeting Shrapnel. And what they do is they talk about some different sayings in AA, kind of let's go like meeting makers make it, or keep coming back. Works if you work it, stuff like that. And they debate whether they should scrap that or keep it.
There he is.
So why don't we introduce from Alcoholics Alive, Shank and Wayne.
Shank and Wayne. Yes.
What's up, guys?
Hi.
How's it
In
going?
the house.
Here they are.
The meeting after
Right.
the meeting.
In the meeting after meeting, a actual meeting shrapnel.
right there.
Is that meeting shrapnel
Oh,
right
it's
there?
100% meeting shrapnel.
Hell yeah.
It is. There's how many? So you've been doing your podcast now for how long?
Well, we're getting ready to wrap up season 1, so we're on our 12th episode.
They're on their 12th episode. If you, like I said, go find them on Spotify, on Apple
So
Music,
good.
at Alcoholics Live. It really is a great show. They have awesome guests, and Shank and Wayne have great viewpoints from their experience. Shank is she still hasn't talked about how she got the name Shank.
I got a question for Shank. though. Can I jump in?
Yeah.
What's up?
What was your favorite combination of commissary food? I mean, it's a simple
You know,
question.
I had a birthday cake that was made for me for my, let's see, it was my 26th birthday, I believe. And that was obviously
In
the
prison,
best thing.
you had
How
a
did you get
birthday cake. made.
cake in prison?
Well, yeah, you get like oatmeal cream pies and Reese's and
Honey buns.
anything off a commissary.
There you go.
ball it up with your hands. It's very
this
sanitary.
is what I wanted to know right here. Here it is.
Yes, make your own frosting out of dry cappuccino and water.
Ooh,
Paste it up.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll make one for you,
That's
for
how you
sure.
know.
There should be a baking show about this, like prison baking or
We
something.
had a talent show here one time, and I made a hookup, which was basically like
Nice.
It's like a noodle dish with
Yes.
Yeah.
ramen noodles and cheese
Yeah.
squeeze and summer sausage. You know what I mean? It's quite,
Yeah, and a
quite
wrap,
delicious
right?
if you don't really know what you're eating.
It was a very AA talent show thing. All the newcomer guys came up and
there was
tried it.
There was a girl that knew how to do it, and I was like,
That would have been Shank.
I was like,
That was me.
That would have been Shank.
where was this? I was like,
No, Shank had a couple of cellmates that thought she was the one.
There you go.
But
There you go.
I will say,
She was
I
not
was-
gay for the stay, though.
I was not.
all right, like I thought.
That's awesome.
Fireworks already.
Love it.
Always count on Jerry. Bring the heat.
Well,
Let's get into
so
it.
can you guys tell us a little bit about Meeting Shrapnel, how it kind of came about, and what we're going to do tonight?
Well, so I'll let Shank Shrink. That's
Shrank.
we had the idea of actually taking slogans and myths and lore and different things that you hear in Alcoholics Anonymous and just kind of debating it or having discussions around it to see if it was helpful or not, or if it was actually any facts centered around it. The actual name of it, I think Shank came up with. I don't know where she got that from.
Shank?
I have no idea either. We were just kind of tossing around ideas and
Yeah.
it sounded good. We had one of our guests on the podcast. He said, I just think that's great. His name was Otis. He said, shrapnel is like at best, it misses you and it doesn't hit you like these AA sayings and lore and slogans. But at worst, it hits you and you can die, or you think that is the AA program.
Yeah, man.
So
Yeah.
It'll shred you up one way or the other.
for sure.
That's right. It's been wildly popular. We've gotten a lot of requests to cover different pieces and slogans, and we're notorious for scrapping stuff.
I was going to say that before we got into it. I don't think you've ever kept
We've
one.
only kept 2.
Really?
Well, 24, you obviously haven't listened to all the episodes.
I
You
have.
told
I just
on
may
yourself.
not. I may not remember.
You just told on yourself. So way to go.
24.
She did. She did.
She brought it up.
I think there might be one episode I didn't listen to.
We kept one of Johnny's actually, free and for fun.
For fun.
Is
Fun and
that
for
Johnny?
free.
I didn't know that.
For fun and for free.
Is it?
I don't
He
know.
used to
Might
say
be.
it.
Might be.
Yeah, he used to say that a long time ago.
Well, we kept it so y'all can say it.
All right. Good. It's
Yeah,
been
so
it's been Alcoholics Alive approved.
Correct.
It is. It's
It was definitely
that one
misused
and
in our group.
I feel like Jerry
We've
listened to some of
replaced-
his old talks and he said it a couple times, so now he's going to okay it.
yeah.
We used to use
We
it.
replaced It Works If You Work It.
Okay.
Oh.
That's out.
It's out.
You can't say it anymore. We replace it with It Works, It Really Does.
Which is from the literature.
Yeah.
It's from the book, and
Yeah.
it came from the audience.
Okay, so so you had your audience kind of vote and decide on what you were
right.
going to replace that with. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And one of Chris H's favorites, Good Orderly Direction. That's out.
Good order. Oh.
I don't ever recall saying that.
You probably said it on
how it
this.
happens,
You
man.
probably
Good
said it on
orderly
this show.
direction.
You might have said it on this
Good orderly
show.
direction.
I think you said it today.
Good orderly
Yeah.
direction. I mean, that seems.
All right. So listen, get
off.
ready. We'll roll into this. So Shank, what's our first one?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. Our first meeting shrapnel is there's a slip under every skirt.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say that. When I was saying Johnny had a saying. I was going to say.
Was that it?
That was it.
There's a slip
There's a
under
slip
every
under
skirt.
Every skirt.
I read your mind.
All right.
So
Chris P., what do you think about that one?
I don't like it. I was just looking at. I was sitting with my sponsor and at a meeting the other day, and I don't even remember how it came up, but I looked over at him. And I was like, "Remember what we used to say? If you don't know the big book, sleep with someone who does." You know. And there's some people who are sober now because they got into a relationship with someone who had a better program than they did, and it motivated them. I mean, I'm not saying get under every skirt.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know, I don't know.
it's somewhat what we talked about with our newcomer tip,
Yep.
finding that one, man.
Yeah,
there's
yes,
going to
sir.
be somebody like that. But from the saying standpoint, what does it really mean, I guess? And this is what the meeting shrapnel really is. What does that mean? What does that mean when you say it to a newcomer? There's a slip under every skirt. I'd be like, what are you talking about?
John, what they're talking about. Okay,
definitely does.
let's
He
not
definitely
be.
does.
I don't think I did. I mean, I don't think I
Right.
did in the beginning.
No, because you had a band.
Yeah.
I was told in my first year not to get into a relationship. I was told that, and I was also incarcerated.
Where's that
I
from?
still
though?
did not get into a relationship. So,
But where did that
it's
come from?
exactly what y'all are talking about: getting with a newcomer or getting with someone that doesn't have a lot of time. That you're gonna have a slip, you're gonna drink again.
But where does the don't get into a relationship in your first year? Where does that come from? What is that?
Well, it's BS.
It's not in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
We've
definitely not-
scrapped that one already, I think.
So that one's already been scrapped. So we're scrapping it.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
We're scrapping. What do you
Because
think?
I kind of feel
Well, I
like
don't know.
It's not in the book. I mean, I don't tell my guys that. I mean,
Yeah.
Also, who listens when someone says that?
Well, obviously, none of y'all.
Nobody I
because you
sponsored
just
knows
said
that.
that.
I mean,
Well, that's honestly, that's one of the things I learned with my first, that's the reason why I'm not sponsored by my first sponsor anymore.
yeah.
Because he told me there was some action I was going to take in regards to a woman, you know? Yeah. And I basically told him what I was going to do. And he was like, I don't think that's a good idea. And I said, I'm not asking you. I'm just telling you this is what I'm going to do. Right. And, I mean, there's a lot more to it than just this situation. I hadn't listened to a direction in probably 9 months or so, but he said, if you do this, you should find a different sponsor. And I was like, all right. And we ended that conversation. I remember thinking, well, I'll call him after. You know what I mean? I'm going to go do this. I'll call him after. We'll see if we can fix this up. But the reason I'm telling the story is because and I ended up getting his sponsor as my sponsor, and that's been 16 years now. But I realized that he and I were different, right? Because if his sponsor had given him that direction, he would have followed it. But there was no way I could have followed that direction. I had to do what I was going to do to figure out what I needed to figure out. And as a result, with my guys that I sponsor, I'll tell them that sounds really stupid. But do what you got to
Here's
do.
the question, Chris.
Yeah.
What you found under that skirt, did it make you relapse?
Close. I know. I remember that's the closest I've come to drinking.
But it doesn't.
Interesting.
But it does, yeah.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
No.
That's not it.
No, and you never can get somebody, if they're going to get in a relationship, they're going to get in a relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter what you say to them.
It sets an
I
unfair
will say,
precedent.
to your point earlier, I know several people that got together when they were new or when one of them was new, and they are still together.
I feel like there's a few out there. I mean, you're putting me on the spot to name names, and I wouldn't name names anyway. But
Right.
I think there's a few.
The point is that it can be misleading. I think that there's a slipper under every skirt. So that means, well, if I don't get with a skirt, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't have to do
Just
anything.
tell her not to wear a
Well, that's
skirt, or tell him not to wear a skirt.
Exactly.
You're all right.
Then I'm good. And that's not the
I've
truth
worn
either.
skirts
No.
before.
We know people who have,
We're going to hear that story another time
yeah,
because
we-
that is a good one.
We need you up here and sitting,
good one.
sitting in a seat, Jerry. To
no,
get
but
all
we
that.
know people who who didn't get in relationships, who didn't have a good program, and we know people who did get in relationships and had a good program.
right.
So
Scrapped. Everybody,
So, Shank, what are we going to do with it?
It's out of here.
it's out of
It's
here.
scrapped.
It's out of here.
All right, it's gone. No more. Don't use it anymore. It's sexist too.
we're
All right,
It
true.
is sexist.
It's true.
It's
Well,
not really.
I mean, I could be wearing a skirt.
It's not really. Yeah.
It's 2023.
It's 2023.
Okay. Shank, what's the next one?
All right. Meeting shrapnel number 2. Meeting makers make it.
Ooh,
Make
probably
it to
the
meetings.
most well used,
Yeah.
most widely used statement of the 90 and 90.
And it's exact. And I think, just my experience, this one is deadly too. This one's one of those ones that can kill people. It can really kill somebody to think that, I can just go to meetings and be okay. That's all I got to do.
Chris H., what do you think?
If you understand, I mean, I agree. If you understand anything about, if you've talked to anyone that knows anything about alcoholism for 5 minutes, you will understand that that is not it. You know what I mean? A meeting is a great place. It's like a minimum ante, but you don't even need a meeting. You just need a book and someone to go through the steps with you. I mean, it's just deadly. I mean, it just sets a bad precedence. People just checking a box, coming in, getting. I mean, I was it. I was a court ordered slip signer, making it to meetings.
Yeah, I mean this podcast and meeting is a meeting, and if I listen to this every day, I definitely wouldn't be able to stay sober. So,
Damn, Gabe.
He's
Is that
doing
Gabe's thinking in there?
It's Gabe. It's Gabe sneaking in.
Gabe, are you going to
brother.
keep it or scrap it?
I'll scrap it. I'll probably personally scrap it.
Nice.
Yeah, get that's
Gabe's the new guy. Gabe's our baby. Shank is the Shank and Wayne's baby. Gabe is our baby. He's like, what are you, Gabe, a year and a half?
Yeah, about 19 months.
He's
Nice.
great reference point for us when we want to know the new cool fads in Alcoholics Anonymous.
Well, I'm going to be devil's advocate.
Save the whale.
Ooh,
Save the whales, John.
Save
Are you
this.
keeping
That's
it
what we
or
call 'em.
scrapping it?
Oh, I'm scrapping it,
That's
but
right.
Chris
I'm
P,
scrapping it.
Chris P over here looks like he might.
Well, I'm not 100% in agreement. Obviously, if you've been sober for more than any short period of time, you realize there's a lot more than AA meetings you need to go to. But I don't know if you were listening to what I said when I was telling what happened. I said, all I knew when I got sober is that when my butt was sitting in the seats of the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, I was somehow able to not drink. Now, that's the only thing I could put together when I was new. All I knew, I think for newcomers, it can be helpful, right? Just get to the meeting, right? I think for people like us who've been sober a long time, I mean, it's kind of like if you go to college, that's not a career. You're just learning how to do your career. It's kind of like going to a meeting. A meeting's not sobriety. A meeting's like where you get in contact with people who are going to show you how to be sober.
Yeah.
Right? But when
Let me ask you a question, Chris.
What's happening?
What about people who do not have the privilege or the ability to go to a meeting?
I guess I'm mailing my big book. I don't know.
Okay,
no,
so
I don't
in
know.
that case-
I mean, you have to create the fellowship you crave. I mean, what's the first thing they're going to try and do is find another alcoholic if they have the big book. I mean, that's how the big book was originally, why it was
And a meeting
published.
could just be one
Yeah,
alcoholic.
but they're not
talking to
making
another.
meetings.
But the
They're
meeting,
not making meetings.
that they could literally make a meeting.
Despite our producers' feeling about our podcast, I would hope that they're listening to us or you guys. You know what I mean? Once a week.
Well, so
What
I
if
guess
they
maybe
don't have the ability
maybe
to listen
yeah,
to
I
podcasts
would think
or a
of
cell phone.
I would think of maybe a prison type scenario where maybe Shank wasn't able to get to meetings. So was she not able to make it?
I made it.
It's a bit more nuanced.
I had a book, and at the time
There
that I
you go.
didn't have a book, because there was a period of time that I didn't have a book, I wasn't able to get one. Luckily, I had some experience, 2 months of experience in AA before going to prison. So I just tried to write out the 12 steps and 12 traditions and how it works the best I could remember it. But I think this is why meeting makers make it is so dangerous, is people do believe that they can just go and sit in a chair and just get sobriety.
By osmosis.
Yeah.
Wayne, what do you think?
Misinterpreted. Huh?
What do you think, Wayne?
Well, I think it's like a lot of them. It's misinterpreted.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly important to go to meetings, right? I mean, I think you probably could stay sober without going to meetings. I know people that have, but I think it's just misinterpreted that people. What I hear especially if I was new, like when I heard 90 and 90, was that meetings are just more important than anything that I do, and as long as I go to meetings, I'm okay. And it gave me permission to be irresponsible in other parts of my life. That going to a meeting was more important than going to the birthday party or to work or to see my mom, things like that. So it's.
But here's the question you got to ask yourself: if all you do is make it to meetings and you don't do anything else, you think you're going to stay sober?
Not if you're real.
No.
Not if you're in a real alcoholic.
Hell no.
I mean, first of all, that would be weird. Why would you go to meetings?
Well, people do.
If you're
There
just
are
lonely,
non-alcoholics in
like,
AA, for
just
sure.
Yeah,
lonely.
yeah, we've known a few of them.
Lonely people.
I mean, I had to be federally indicted to even be motivated to go to an AA meeting.
Yeah, but you're a real alcoholic. So you can't understand what the
God.
non-alcoholic who might show up is going there for.
Yeah.
So all right.
Meeting makers make it in 90 and 90. Got to go.
So everybody here, we're in favor of scrapping. Scrap.
Scrap. I don't.
Shank, what do you think?
Scrap it.
Scrap it.
It's out of here.
All right.
I think Chris is on the fence.
That-
No,
here.
I'm not on the fence. I would have if you said that when I was new, I'd be like, okay.
Good for them. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, sure. What a blah blah blah.
All right. What do we
All right.
got?
All right.
So we
What's
have
next?
one more.
This is a good one for this crowd.
I don't know what that means. It's probably not
Meeting
good.
shrapnel number 3. I spilled more liquor than you drank.
Oh, that's not really appropriate
Oldie
for
but a
this
goodie.
table.
It's
Well, it is. I mean, we don't like it.
I mean, I was no spring chicken when I got to AA.
No.
Yeah, but the rest of us were though.
That's true, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, I was 23. How old were you?
I was 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
22.
Oh.
Oh, I mean,
Jer-
it's super.
yeah.
I was 24.
22, 24.
29.
Chris was, Chris
29.
H was old. He
Yeah, I
was
mean, if you got
almost-
sober in 35, that would have been young. You know what I mean?
And,
Gabe, how old are you?
I'm 25. I'm trying to do the math. I think I was 23.
Okay.
Right?
So, so
Super dangerous.
I've
Have
heard.
you ever heard this
yeah.
from 24?
I have heard. I have had older people in the program say this to me before in one form or another. They may not have directly said that line, but they said something along that line of, you know, and I think that expands out into you're so lucky.
So you're so lucky.
You're so lucky you got so sober young. Like, and what that did to me was make me think, well, maybe I got more time. You know, I got more of a run in me. Look at you, you know, and it's just self-centered, I think, more than anything else.
Well, it's also differentiating people in Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Like my entire success in Alcoholics Anonymous is dependent upon the fact that I believe that I'm the exact same as you. If you're telling me that I'm different than you, then why the hell am I going to do what you're doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So get the hell out of here, you know?
It definitely creates separation, and I think it does go right in line with, man, you're so lucky. You're so lucky. You got sober at a young age. And
what about Gabe? What do you think of this one, Gabe?
I've never heard those words.
I'm like trying to understand what it means, actually. Can you guys explain a little bit more?
I mean, it means
when I came in, I was 24 and I only drank for about 5 years. So older people would say, like, you know, well, why are you here? Oh, you're so young. I spilled more liquor than you drank. Like,
okay,
maybe I was an alcoholic, or maybe I didn't drink long enough, or like, how could I already end up in AA?
It's clicking. There we go. Yeah, I mean, that one kind of bothers me because, I mean, honestly, looking at my roommates in college, they're not alcoholic, but they definitely, I think if I did a measurement, like, I think they drank more than me. Like, my alcoholism is more tied into, like, why I drank and when I drank. You know, and there was also other drugs too, so it's like it can kind of permeate to other substances. So
it's a weird saying. I mean, if you spilled more liquor than someone drank, I mean, then maybe you need like a special like baby tumbler or something. Like
at the end of the day, they're just
like maybe you need like alcoholic.
Maybe you need like a sippy cup. Yeah, you need a sippy cup.
Yeah.
If you're spilling more liquor than I drank, you need like a straw.
Yeah.
Actually, you just need to tell them they need to age more gracefully. You know what I mean? Like, don't be so upset at me because I got sober young, dude. Like, chill out.
Or drink moonshine. You don't have to drink that much of it.
There you go.
I heard it quite a bit when I got sober. You know, like a Clubhouse Joe. I spilled more liquor than you drank, boy.
Speaking of Clubhouse Joe, Alcoholics Alive has a great Instagram page, and they post a lot of funny memes. And Clubhouse Joe is a big part of a lot of that. So if you're on Instagram, you can find him. It's at Alcoholics Alive, right?
It is.
That's right.
Yeah.
Alcoholics Alive. Yeah.
At Alcoholics Alive. Well, I think we're coming up here on the time. So are we scrapping that last one, everybody?
Oh, that's got to get scrapped, man.
Oh, it's out of here, I think. What do you think, Shank?
It's scrapped.
It's scrapped. So
Out of here.
You know what? I think we did our part with them. We scrapped 3 for 3. They scrap pretty much every one. So we
listen. Can I just tell you something?
Yeah.
That music at the beginning was not country music.
No, that was not. I tried to say,
guys, this wasn't even close.
Okay.
Gabe, what are you doing, man?
It all sounds the same.
no, it doesn't.
Gabe,
Sounded like
I'm going to
country to
send
me.
you some
Twangy
country music.
guitar.
That was like some Southern pop, is what that was.
I will say this: we're going for
sounds the same.
unlicensed. You know, we can't do any licensed music, so that might have been the best we had on our
Well,
website.
Yes,
I'll send you
okay.
something to use.
It's
And
a
we want
country.
some God dice.
You know what? They're coming in the mail. They'll be coming in the mail soon.
We want 2 sets of God
Okay,
dice.
all right.
2 sets.
I've also got some masks.
Always
that's-
loaded.
I've got some masks that say 1 day at a time on them too. So coming.
What's
in.
a mask?
A mask. Yeah, you
What's a mask?
like a ski mask.
give that to Chris H. He'll take it.
Oh my God! There you go.
Got it.
All right. Well, hey, look, we are really out of time
we
now.
love you guys.
We love you guys too.
Love you
Thank you
guys.
so
Thanks for
much,
having us
Shank
on,
and
guys.
Wayne. Remember, Alcoholics Alive, great podcast. Find it on Spotify. Find it on Apple Music. Meeting Shrapnel. That was an amazing segment. We're why don't we just close it out right here? This is again the meeting after the meeting. We want to thank Chris for joining us
Thanks for
tonight.
coming.
Thanks for having me.
We are going to be back next week with another amazing speaker and a great sketch. So we're excited.
We're excited.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.